What if your jaw pain isn't about your jaw at all? TMJ problems can be a sign of something much deeper. These can be things like chronic stress, poor posture, or even a breathing problem. In this video, I'm going to go over how all of these things are related and how they can relate to your jaw pain and what you can do about it. So make sure you stick around. So what exactly is TMJ pain? A lot of people come to me and say, I have TMJ. Well, everybody has a TMJ because your TMJ is this joint that helps open and close your mouth. It's basically this ball that goes into this socket. And you have one on the left side of your jaw and one on the right side of your jaw. Now, the interesting thing about your TMJ joint is it not only rotates, it also moves forward and back. So whenever you open your mouth, that bone part of that TMJ joint, or the condyle, actually shifts forward. And then when you close your mouth, that shifts back into that disc. Now, when people say they have TMJ, they really mean they have TMJ problems. Now, technically it's called TMD, or temporomandibular disease, or some people call it temporomandibular disorder. The main symptoms people have when they know they have TMD could be things like headaches, they have jaw pain, they have jaw clicking, especially when they open or close. Sometimes their jaw will shift. So instead of opening and closing normally, your jaw kind of shifts in one direction. And that opening in general could also be painful. It could be painful to close and bite on things, or it could be painful to open your mouth. That pain could even spread to your ear. So most people, when they have this, they will stop at just treating the symptoms. Now, what exactly is causing this TMJ problem though? Well, there's actually many different causes of TMJ problem. The main one people like to talk about is stress. There's been numerous studies that show that when you have stress and anxiety, a natural response is for you to grind or clench your teeth. And when you grind and clench your teeth, you got to think about what's happening to that joint in your jaw. That TMJ is constantly working, and over time it can get really aggravated and get really inflamed. And this can lead to a lot of pain. Now, why do people grind their teeth like this? Well, what the studies show is when people are really stressed out, when they have a ton of cortisol release and they're really stressed out about something, anytime they start chewing on something, that actually relieves the stress. So some studies show that when people start chewing gum, it helps relieve their stress. But when you're sleeping or when you're stressed out, sometimes you don't even have access to gum. So some studies even took people and they had them get really stressed out, and then after they had them just grind their teeth back and forth. And they found that their cortisol levels dropped. Their stress actually got reduced by simply gnawing at their teeth. So if you're grinding the teeth, most likely that's going to be the cause of your TMJ problems. Now the thing is, some people might be grinding their teeth during the daytime, or some people might be grinding their teeth at nighttime without realizing it. Either way, it could be a red flag and a sign of chronic stress and anxiety. So the most common solution that dentists make is called a night guard or a bite splint. A bite splint is basically this plastic retainer that is made over one arch, either your top or your bottom teeth. And now what happens is, instead of grinding and clenching your teeth, you're actually deflecting those forces. So when you grind and clench on this bite guard, it deflects those forces, it kind of relieves those muscles, and it can really help with a lot of that jaw pain. Those can work really well, but sometimes people can't tolerate it. Sometimes people can't sleep with it. Sometimes people grind during the day, and they grind during times where they don't want to wear this bite splint. So in those cases, we really got to work on the main cause of that TMJ. Now, when it comes to stress, this comes to finding ways to relieve that stress. I'd highly recommend talking with a physician about ways that you can lower your stress. I would also look into getting some sort of stress release during the week. So maybe some sort of meditation, or even getting a massage, or you could exercise or find some hobby, whatever it is. But it doesn't just stop there. TMJ problems are actually multifactorial, meaning there's a bunch of other factors that could be playing into it at once. For some people, the stress relief alone is all they need to stop grinding their teeth and to get rid of their jaw pain. But for some people, that's not enough. Some people could have an actual posture problem, like the posture of their neck. For example, if you have a forward head posture, this basically means your head is tilted forward instead of being aligned with your spine. This actually tilts the head down, and this can also put a lot of stress on that TMJ. So what I would focus on is making sure you focus on your posture at all times, especially when you are relaxing on your desk or doing some sort of work, because you're going to be sitting there for a long period of time. I, as a dentist, know a lot about this because There's a lot of posture problems that different dentists have, and they end up going home with back pain or neck pain or all sorts of problems. So posture training for us dentists was a big deal in dental school and still is now that I'm practicing. There's a lot of CE courses even on it, like continuing education that people do just to correct their posture. So what I would focus on is making sure your head is in line with your spine. And there's even an exercise that you can do that can even help give yourself a natural neck lift. It's called these tongue snaps. So the way you do it is you put your tongue against the roof of your mouth, not just the tip of your tongue, but also the middle and back part of your tongue. And then you do a really wide smile, and then you open your mouth until that tongue falls off the roof of your mouth. And when it does that, it's gonna make this snapping sound. So it'll look kind of like this. What you're doing is when you make that really wide smile, you're engaging your neck muscles, but you're also strengthening your tongue. Now, surprisingly, your tongue and your neck play a lot of roles together because your tongue connects to your jaw and also connects to your neck muscles. So it might sound weird, but strengthening your tongue and your neck could fix your jaw pain. Now, I actually made another video going into more detail about different exercises you can do for your posture, so make sure you check it out in the description below. Now, this actually brings us to the next TMJ problem, which is a breathing problem. Now, this is a really underrated cause because when you have a breathing problem, it pretty much always means that you have a sleeping problem. And we're finding a huge link now between sleeping problems and people grinding and clenching their teeth, and therefore end up having jaw pain. And there's been actual studies on this. So basically what it shows is when someone's sleeping, at some point they're gonna have a breathing obstruction. This could be something like sleep apnea, or it could be something else. There's other breathing problems that won't even show up on a sleep apnea test. Basically what happens is your oxygen levels drop and your body senses that your oxygen levels are depleted, so it panics and it tries to open up the airway any way it can. And a natural response that ends up happening is you grind or clench your teeth. Now, this can happen multiple times throughout the night, over and over, especially with someone who has very severe breathing problems. For example, one breathing problem someone can have is as they're lying on their back, their tongue can fall back and cut off their breathing. This is especially true if someone is breathing in and out of their mouth. So as their tongue falls back, they can start to snore, or this tongue can completely cut off their breathing, and then they can stop breathing. Either way, there's a problem. So some big red flags to look out for are if you know that you're a mouth breather, like during the day, as you're walking, or as you go to work, or as you're working, you catch yourself with your lips open. If your lips are not closed at like random times, that means that you are breathing in and out of your mouth. Your lips should ideally be closed, and you should be breathing in and out of your nose. You could also check if you have daytime fatigue, like you slept 8 hours, but you're still exhausted. You get to work and you're just falling asleep at your desk. Or if you know that you snore. These are all bad signs. What I would focus on is focusing on breathing in and out of your nose. You might want to see a sleep specialist. Now, I talk a lot about sleep in some of my other videos, so you can check out a ton of content on my YouTube channel if you want to learn more about that. But this kind of leads us to the next point, which is the position of your TMJ joint in the first place. So I kind of broke it down a little bit just to help you understand. So imagine this is the side of someone's face. This is their jaw joint, and every time they open and close, this jaw joint's gonna go forward, kind of like this diagram, and then when they close, this jaw joint's gonna go back. Now this part right here is called the condyle. This is part of your mandible or your lower jaw. And as a child is growing up, if they grow up as a mouth breather, where their mouth is constantly hanging open and they're basically always breathing in and out of their mouth, or even not even always, if they're regularly just breathing in and out of their mouth instead of their nose, then this condyle will shift forward, kind of like this diagram. The problem is, if they're constantly in that position, this jaw will start to restructure. Instead of normally being here, it will start to normally be here, and the bone will kind of remodel around it. Now what happens is, anytime this person closes their mouth, this condyle has to shift back, and it tries to get back in this normal position. But the problem is this bone has remodeled, and it's kind of blocked. So this can be really painful to get back in that normal position where your jaw is closed. And this can lead to a lot of TMJ pain down the road. So what I would say is, for a kid, it's really important to instill this nasal breathing and correct oral posture from a very early age. What is correct oral posture? Well, we talked about your lips being closed, but your tongue should also be resting against the roof of your mouth. Again, not just the tip of your tongue, but also the middle and back part of your tongue. And also, your teeth should be slightly touching. If you have that oral posture from an early age, then you are going to have a lot better jaw development. And you're also going to be breathing in and out of your nose. Now, that's what you can do for a kid as their jaw is developing, but let's say you're an adult. When should you start to take TMJ pain seriously? I would say anytime you have pain, it's time to take it seriously. But luckily, there's a lot of simple fixes. So usually if you get that bite splint that I talked about, it's a quick, simple fix. It gets rid of all the symptoms. You don't really need to do much more. But I would suggest trying to improve on some of the other things I talked about in this video, especially when it comes to the breathing and the posture or the stress, because these are things that will only help benefit your overall life. If you improve your breathing when you're sleeping, if you start to encourage nasal breathing and stop breathing in and out of your mouth and reduce that snoring, then you're gonna feel a lot better the next day. Your brain's gonna feel better, you're gonna have a lot better clarity, you're not gonna be as exhausted. It's just gonna help all other aspects of your life. But I would never ignore TMJ pain because this can continue to get worse over time because you're gonna just keep having this constant inflammation or this chronic stress from all this pain. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you liked that video. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel below, and I will see you in the next video. Did you know that looking at your teeth could determine your overall health? You see, having healthy teeth is more than just having them look really white. But if you have unhealthy teeth, it's been linked to a ton of different diseases like heart disease, Alzheimer's, diabetes, even bone loss. But in this video, I'm gonna go over some of the signs that your mouth are giving you and what you can do about it. So stick around. So the first